It's so good to be here with you tonight and to see the faces of so many people whom I recognize. Just for those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Mary Horsford, and it is with great pleasure that I welcome all of you who are with us at the Palms Court Harborview Hotel Conference Room in St. Thomas, and all listening via WSTA AM 1340 in St. Thomas and Upbeat Radio 97.7 FM in Anguilla, to this event organized by the committee to elect Pam, that is Pam Webster, as the representative for the electoral district of Island Harbor, District 1. You know, it's always good as a people, we believe that we should give God thanks and praise and ask for his divine guidance in everything that we do. And so now it is with great pleasure that I call upon Felix Fleming to deliver a word of prayer.
Good evening. Let's all stand, please. Bow our heads. Almighty God, our Heavenly Father, we are gathered here this evening and we invite your presence. We invite you to be among us, to strengthen us. We know whenever you are near, you are our guide and our comfort. Enlighten us this evening. Open our hearts and our minds and our understanding so that whatever be done and said here this evening would be for a better Anguilla, for a new Anguilla, that we all can come together and work together in your honor and to your glory. So bless these proceedings this evening and bless the speakers and the words that come from their lips. Bless us all this evening in Anguilla, St. Thomas, wherever the Anguillians are in the world, all those who are afflicted, suffering, bless us this evening and be among us. We ask these blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Felix. Dear audience, tonight it is your time to hear our candidate, Pam Webster, who is the independent candidate vying for political office to represent the electoral district of Island Harbor, District 1, under the symbol the fish, in the upcoming general elections in Anguilla. At the end of the presentation by the candidate, you will have the opportunity to ask questions. However, before Pam comes to present, we have a few speakers, supporters from Island Harbor, District 1, to make some remarks. Our first speaker tonight is Tyrone Hodge, and he has traveled all the way from California, arriving sometime during today, to be with us tonight. Now, I think most of you, or all of you who are here, know Tyrone Hodge because he resided in St. Thomas for a number of years. He was then, and still is, an educator. Please welcome him with a round of applause as he comes to the podium.
Thank you, Marie. Good evening, the wonderful folks here in St. Thomas. Welcome. It's nice to be back in my adopted home once again. St. Thomas has been very good to me, as I'm sure she has been good to us all. I want you to know that this country has and will always have a special place in my heart, for it was here that I had some great triumphs, and it was here that I also had some big-time setbacks. But seriously, folks, it's not about me. It's about you wonderful folks who have showed up here tonight because you are concerned about the direction that that magnificent piece of rock called Anguilla must go. Folks, we remember the days when we thrived at just about everything that we did. But for most of us, that is no longer the case. The coming year, we will have a chance to make a difference. We have a chance to take our country back from those who would further wreck it. We are here tonight because we need to elect someone who will represent all of the people, not just some of the people. And that person is none other than Pam Webster. We need an elected representative who has the concerns of not just her district, but all of Anguilla. We need someone with leadership ability and the vision that can help take our country forward. And that person is none other than Pam Webster. There is no question that globalization, coupled with weak and sensitive leadership, has left us to fend for ourselves. We need representation that will be proactive and not reactive. Representation that will propose and act upon solutions. We cannot continue from failed leadership to failed leadership. We must elect someone who has a plan to get us back on the highway to prosperity. Ladies and gentlemen, that person is none other than our own Pam Webster. Miss Webster is the daughter of the soil who has stayed true to her roots. She still lives in Island Harbor where she was born. Miss Webster entered the political arena for the first time in 2010, in which she contested a seat as a member of the Anguilla Progressive Party, coming in District 1. She would later disassociate herself from the APP because, as she put it, I found that our values had separated. I no longer believed what they believed in. Though her bid for political office was unsuccessful, she continued to be a force to be reckoned with. Miss Webster possessed that je ne sais quoi, that exemplary star quality that's innate in a leader. Qualities such as being a good listener, being respectable to everyone's ideas, always maintaining a level head, even when she's being verbally attacked. She is capable and stands head and shoulders above the rest. She has it, whatever it is. That quality that we need in a leader, someone who will not be combative, but will be firm and be able to reciprocate, to give back, to be consistent and rise above the fray. Of good leaders, retired General Colin Powell said, good leaders are made, not born. Leadership is all about people and getting the most out of people. He goes on to say that it's about conveying a sense of purpose in a selfless manner and creating a trust while displaying moral and physical courage. Ms. Webster is that person who shows grace under pressure. Of leadership, the father of the nation, Mr. James Ronald Webster, on his 85th birthday, had this to say to a large crowd of the nation's youth, that they should aspire to leadership. It is the government's responsibility to inspire its people to improve their standards of living, to create the necessary opportunities for them, and to guard their individual rights. Public life is a crowning career for young men and women, and it is a most worthy ambition. Clean politics, I say again, clean politics and leadership must be seen as an honorable adventure for those wishing to work towards nation building. The time has come for us to elect someone who is not afraid to make bold steps. We need someone who cares for our people. We need someone who has proven time after time that her country and its people come first. In the Bible, James chapter 2, verses 24 through 28, it says, You will know me by my actions, not just my words. We all know that Pam Webster is a woman of action. By her deeds, you shall know her. So far, we've gotten very little from our politicians, but they've made sure that they're doing well for themselves and their friends. Ladies and gentlemen, our people have been hurting for quite some time now. Look at all the foreclosures on our people, their properties, their homes, their businesses. We are a proud people, especially the people of District 1. We don't need a handout. Give us a hand up. We want jobs so that we can feed and educate our children. Talk will not cut it. Our esteemed Chief Minister tells our high school graduates to continue to study and prepare themselves in the event the jobs for which they've trained materialize. Can you believe that? Folks, we need someone who is here to give back. Someone who will be forthright and transparent with the people. Someone who has always put country first. Someone who has had the expertise. Someone who will work with our education system to see that our children are being educated in a manner which is commensurate with today's global marketplace. It is time that we elect our first female representative from District 1, a woman who gets things done, a woman with the ability, the knowledge, and business savvy to get Angola back on the right track, and that woman is none other than Pam Webster. Pam Webster is eminently qualified and will not just look out for some of the people of District 1, but all the people of Angola. She will be a tireless advocate for our elderly, and we already know that she is fully vested in our youth. You know that she will be fighting for our best interests. She will use her knowledge to further our interests. Ladies and gentlemen, I sincerely believe that you will throw your support behind the candidacy of Pam Webster as your representative of District 1. That is not the time for petty indifference. It is our life that is at stake here. We want a new Angola now. So let's roll up our sleeves. Let's get to work and give Pam Webster the job by voting for Pam, whose symbol is the fish on election day. You've been a wonderful audience. May God bless and keep us all, and may God continue to bless Angola. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyrone. And I just want to touch on two little things he has said. Clean politics. You know, Pam says to us, her team members, nothing dirty about anybody. They can bash me all they want, but you do not go down that road. And that is why, that is what we want. We want a healing for our people. We want clean politics, clean campaigning. Another thing, children, our children, educated. She's not in government, but she's ensuring that our children are being educated. She has opened 2 centers, one at Island Harbor and one at Pond Ground. And some 30 to 40 children use the center at Island Harbor, and the one at Pond Ground, the numbers are pretty close to that as well. And she helps with the homework, after-school homework program, and there's so many other things. And knowledge is key, and you all in here, you know that. And so she is doing things to help our youth whom the people who are in position, in leadership positions now in government, would throw them away. But Pam isn't doing that. You are somebody. You have potential. And you come with me, and you come first. Our next speaker now is Oris Smith. Oris is a young man. He's a businessman. He has his own business in Anguilla. He is a boat builder. He's a boat owner. And he's a boat captain. Some of you probably have heard of the Eagle and its exploits I would use on the sea. But he grew up in St. Thomas as well, and he was part of the Charlotte Tamale High School marching band, and also a cricketer in St. Thomas and in Anguilla. I now call and ask that you give him your support as he comes to the podium.
Let me say good evening to you all for coming. Welcome. Good evening, Anguillians, relatives and friends, welcome. It is indeed a great pleasure to stand here with pride in support of a lady whom I have known all my life. A lady who has always demonstrated her love for her country. A lady who has demonstrated a daily basis her commitment to improving the lives of the people of Anguilla. Ladies and gentlemen, I am speaking about Pam Webster, the independent candidate for District 1 in our upcoming election. Friends, I know many times you have been bombarded by big party politicians. These men mask themselves and their real intentions behind a party banner and big promises. Friends, I know many of you have been bombarded by the big party politicians. Those men don't really have Anguilla at heart. For those of you who may not know, there are 3 political parties in Anguilla: the AUM, the AUF, and the Dove Party. The Anguilla United Movement controls the government at the moment. They replaced the Anguilla United Front in the last election. The people of Anguilla changed the United Front government after 2 terms in office and replaced it with the AUM. The AUM government, who for the last 4.5 years have done nothing to improve Anguilla's economy, but have succeeded in bringing even more hardship and pain on the people of Anguilla. Ladies and gentlemen, the present government has imposed new taxes, raised imported duties, and implemented levies on everything they can think of in order to keep the country going. In actual fact, you, the people, have been running Anguilla for the last 4.5 years. You're paying from those burdensome taxes, duties, and levies is what have sustained Anguilla for the last 4.5 years. It is even worse now than the last 4 years. Now, in order to get re-elected, they are coming to us with a belly full of empty promises that can change every week. The AUM candidate for District 1 said he will fix the health department. He says he will bring in new medical specialists. But I'm saying, please fix it now. Your government is in the power now. We need a better medical service now. Besides, your government had 4.5 years and nothing happened. Some people believe that because we are Anguillians and loving people, and because we are so easygoing, that it will be easy picking the perfect candidate for exploitation. So they come with their mechanical smiles and the pie in the cut promises about big projects. It's election time, when it is really about the beachland, the gold, the last resource of our country. That is just another attempt to dupe the Anguilla people. Mr. Promiser, we have been down that road too many times before. So make no mistake, we are not to be fooled and will not be fooled. Development must bring with it benefits for the people of Anguilla, not just the developers. We are a strong people, fiercely independent, and will fight and fight hard. And if win, we have to do so. People of District 1, let us chase the money changers out of the temple. Let us rid our country of leeches who will suck the last drop of blood out of our country. Ladies and gentlemen, let us build a new Anguilla now. Let us build it with some new people, with new tools and governance, fairness and justice for all. By their deeds, you will know them. On election day, go out and exercise the power that is in your hands. You have to vote. Exercise your right. District 1, let us vote for strong, competent, and qualified leadership. The choice is easy. Vote Pam Webster, the fish. God bless you, and God bless Anguilla. Thank you.
Thank you, Aris. You know, people everywhere, life is hard. But sometimes our own people make it harder for us to survive. And that is what has happened to us in Anguilla. And I don't think that we are really alone in that. But we have to do something. All people have to realize the power they have in their hands. Again, that is a thing of educating our people. Knowledge, information, they're all key. And again, that is one of the things Pam wants to do. Let our people be informed. I said some night we are a secretive people because, and I come from the government, I worked as a public servant, so I can very well say that and nobody can tell me I'm not telling the truth. Because we believe in this thing called confidentiality and not letting people know. You keep them in the dark, and when you keep people in the dark, you can control them. When you spoke about the taxes, you know, there's one tax which you'll hear more about, the levy. When you have to pay it, your employer has to pay it, and every employer has to pay it. That means everything you get, you are paying the levy on as well. And so, it is something that we really need to look into and to look at. And I know Pam has that high on her agenda. I now call to the podium our next speaker, Wilkin Harrigan. He's well known to all of you here who are in St. Thomas because he has resided here. He has just come home recently. And he's here with us this evening. He's one of our team members. And so welcome him, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It would be remiss of me to sit here this evening in a setting like this and not to say something about the candidate for District 1, or candidate, Pam Webster. Pam Webster is a loving, caring lady. She's one who have put her all into the young people. I want us to know that we are the people of today, but our young people will be the people of tomorrow. I also want us to know that Pam is not only running in District 1 because she wants to be in government. She's running in District 1 because she wants to help her district and Anguilla on a whole. Pam Webster is also one who believes in young people. She put her all into the young people, the youth of tomorrow. And for this, I want to say to Pam, you're doing a wonderful job. Thank you. I want to touch for a minute or so just on independent candidates. And I want us to know that our former chief minister ran for election on 2 occasions as an independent candidate. He was successful in his candidacy, and he did a very good job for Anguilla. I believe that Pam also, as an independent candidate, can do a whole lot for her district and Anguilla on a whole. I want to say that Pam will do well for Anguilla. She's caring, she's loving, and she is a star. I say she's a star because the things that Pam has been doing for Anguilla, she isn't doing it because she is in power. She is doing it out of a caring heart. And she is helping the young people in District 1 so that when we are gone, they will be able to take over. I say, Pam, go for it. You're a star. The limit is the sky. And if we, the people here and the rest in District 1, support Pam, she will be the candidate who will win the seat in District 1. I have no doubt in my mind that Pam Webster will be the next candidate to win the seat in District 1. I say, Pam, you're a winner. Do not give up. Go for it and let us rally behind you. I say to this audience this evening, do whatever it takes to go to Anguilla on the day of election and vote for Pam Webster. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Wilkin. Vote for Pam Webster. The fish. Now you know the fish is very important in our area because we're surrounded by water. And we have always been an area where fishing was our livelihood. It has fed so many people. Now in the hotels, it's feeding our visitors. So the symbol of the fish, and I can't forget, and you all in here, I believe most of you in here know, that 2 fishes fed 5,000 people, and they were just the men, they didn't count the women. So you know that fish is important, and we have 200 miles of water teeming with fish. And there are people who would like to come and get that, even our own people who are trying to give it to them. Pam is not going to allow that. If we're going to have our fishes, then our people have to come first in getting that. Pam, he just touched briefly on the young people. You know, there's an entrepreneurship program, And one of the things I like about Pam is, although she's a trained lawyer, she's constantly, getting involved in things and going to, and I think just recently she became one of the trainers, and she had to go out for some afternoons to be at the community college to do that. So that is to tell you where her aim is to encourage people to get them to do things. And so, Pam Webster, the fish, I know who we really and truly need in Anguilla. Our next speaker is Paul Harrigan. I met Paul a few years ago, and it was on the mayor's show. And I don't remember the topic right now, but what I do remember was that when I heard this young man talking about his country and his people and how he cared for them and his plans, what we can do, I just sat there and listened, spellbound. He is well known in St. Thomas. He too is a young businessman. Tonight, please welcome him as he comes to this podium.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I'm happy to see the turnout here tonight. As Mary have stated, my name is Paul Harrigan. I stand before you this evening as a proud supporter of Pam Webster, a lady born and raised in Anguilla, a lady who we all know and love. I'm supporting her not because of her academic qualifications and her ability to do the best job as our political representative, a job for which we all know she's eminently qualified. I'm supporting her mainly because of her passion and dedication to the community of District 1. Pam has demonstrated that she doesn't have to wait to be elected to assist and do whatever she can to help her people. Pam is a person with a passion for uplifting people. She has a thirst for sharing. Pam is enthusiastic about young people. She remembers her own struggles growing up in Anguilla. Some say Pam has been disenchanted with the community since she's been back and started her practice. But personally, I feel Pam had faith, like many of us in the governmental system. Pam has the ability to pick up and move her family away and begin a new life with education and law background. Instead, Pam has dug in deep and is prepared to forego her successful law practice for politics. This shows her resolve and says more than what a million words can say. We need to provide a solid foundation for the children today, or else we will lose them for the future. There are many things ailing our education system. We need programs that will inspire kids, teachers, and parents alike. We need more teachers trained in special education. So many kids fall by the wayside because they are born with disorders such as dyslexia and ADD, to mention a few, and are not diagnosed until it's too late. Therefore, we need teachers trained with the skill sets to recognize the symptoms and begin to work closely with these kids. However, the job is not done. We need parents to become educated about those disorders so they can do their part at home. Education is a three-pronged sword. Kids, parents, and teachers need to work together to make a difference for the future. We are living in a global economy, and our kids need to be ready to meet the challenge of tomorrow. Healthcare has also been an issue in Anguilla for a long time. Many have the privilege to travel abroad for medical treatment. But what about those who don't have the means to travel? We need healthcare reform. We need people in these fields with the expertise to consult and advise the politicians in order to improve our current situation. Dr. Lorenzo Webster, if you are not able to get a plan in action for the health care reform while the government you and your brother support is in power, please do not fool the people and make it seem like it would happen when you win the election. Many years ago in St. Thomas, Adelbert Bryan tried to define what or who is a Virgin Islander. And his narrow definition came to bite him in the butt. I have noticed that the immigration laws in Angola discriminate in similar fashions because the definition is very narrow. Imagine I have a passport through my father. However, my children couldn't obtain the same right through me unless they lived in Angola for 15 years. But they were able to obtain a passport from my wife after she became a citizen. Now, what makes her more a citizen than me? My bloodline fought for this country. My bloodline navel strings. My bloodline navel strings were buried in this country. So tell me, what is wrong with that picture? It's a fact. We have individuals that live abroad, that fathers or mothers are Anguillians and want to invest in Angola but feel alienated by the immigration laws of this country. We must protect our country from outsiders, yes, but my point is to open up our country to Anguillians that are true Anguillian descendants. We have many Anguillians that go away to further their education. However, there's no sustainable development to provide jobs for these individuals. We need to broaden our financial sector, industrial sector, renewable energy sector, boat building and marine sector, agriculture sector, and medical sector. We need infrastructure development to stimulate our economy. And we don't need one family benefiting from 90% of the work like we have seen in the past 5 years. We need economic stimulation for all Anguillians. Food for thought. Recently, Aruba built a solar energy roof over the parking area of the airport. It utilizes 14,000 panels, produce 3.5 megawatts of power, and is delivering power to the local electricity distributor, Elmar. This system can supply power to more than 500 households. An additional benefit is that parked vehicles are now protected from the sun and the rain. Don't we have an uncovered parking lot at Angola Airport that we can utilize for such an adventure? Even the Virgin Islands has found a means. Even the Virgin Islands has found a means to incorporate solar energy into the electricity grid. Secondly, after the earthquake and tsunami caused Japan to suffer that nuclear meltdown at Fukushima nuclear plant on March 11, 2011, researchers and engineers are conducting research on renewable wind energy. They are studying different concepts of how to build a wind turbine island that will sit off the coast of Japan and produce clean energy. I am not advocating this particular idea, but my point I want you to take home is the ingenuity in the concept. We need to think out of the box and provide renewable energy to Anguillians to cut down on electricity costs. I was recently reading an article from Merrill Edge. Chris Hasey, Chief Investor Officer at US Trust, said, shortages of water and also of land, energy, and food in many parts of the world are having far-reaching effects. He knows that drought conditions are growing more severe in the place of accelerating urbanization. Yet, population growth is expected to drive demand for water 40% higher within 20 years, according to the World Bank. Governments and private sector will have to spend billions on a commodity most of us take for granted. Desalination plants and infrastructures that purify water are no longer just interesting concepts. And we are seeing a wave of technology to mitigate the scarcity of water. This proved to me how out of touch our current chief minister is with the world events. Recently, he was trying to allocate the land that the Farmer G's desalination plant is located on in Crocus Bay for an hotel expansion. Again, the AUM trying to reinvent the wheel. This site is a prime site for the desalination process. The infrastructure is already installed. It is just for a company to come in and upgrade the plant and proceed to supply water to the island. Currently, the wells there are supplying water to Anguilla. Cannot sustain the demand, therefore we experience water scheduling to different parts of the island at different times of the week. Seem like we are back in the pre-revolution era and not the 21st century. Water. I am sure many here are familiar with the new airline out of Dominica, Hummingbird Air. Well, did you know that a local Dominican owns it? We have several local airlines that operate out of Anguilla to service passengers traveling to islands in close proximity that cater more so to the high-end tourists. However, in the past 10 years, we have seen a major airline such as American Eagle that cater to the masses stop servicing Anguilla. As of today, Liat will stop servicing us, stop servicing our direct flight into and out of Anguilla. In the past 5 years, we have had a local Anguillan business owner, Rose Hodge, and her late husband, Corby Hodge, and brother-in-law, Cardigan Hodge, from Anguilla Air Express, Rainbow International Airlines, solicited the government to provide a service to Anguilla from neighboring Puerto Rico, and they met many roadblocks from the AUN government. Personally, I would expect this from a foreign government. If they were trying to start a service in a foreign country, but not from the country that they were born and bred. Now Liat is leaving and their airline is already established and providing airlift from Puerto Rico to Anguilla and also providing an air ambulance service to the region. Why the AAM government don't try to use the local resources that are available to them instead of reinventing the wheel? I want to bring to your attention how Chief Minister Hughes' campaign has made a 360-degree turn from what he and his members normally portrays. Some time ago, Chief Minister Hughes talked about uniting his people, a new Anguilla today, and how he loves his people, etc. What an oxymoron. Ladies and gentlemen, please don't forget, this was the same man that used derogatory statements about Pam Webster and Cora Richardson Hodge in the House and expressed that politics was no place for a woman. No, him and his government can't say, like the radio stations, that this broadcast is not the views or ideas of my government, because all these candidates are part of his government or running to become part of it, so they all hold the same views and visions. In so many words, Chief Minister Hughes stated if Pam was elected by the people, he don't want her to be part of government, and that she must stay out of politics. No. Here comes the ironic part. He finds a female candidate in District 7, and all of a sudden females are good enough for the House and the government. Don't you see there is instability in the words that come out of his mouth? He talks about unity, but yet he invites the father of the nation on the park for Anguilla Day in 2010 and express how Bradshaw was such a good man, etc. When Anguillians suffered and was treated unfairly under that regime, my uncle Atlin Noralda Harrigan must have rolled over in his grave along with all the brave men who have since passed that served and fought for Anguillians' freedom from St. Kitts and Nevis. Chief Minister Hughes is the same man that was against the revolution. He's the same man that traveled to St. Kitts to celebrate Anguilla Day in St. Kitts and with Bradshaw and his Bradshaw lovers. It's the same man now who wants independence from England for the same brutal treatment that Bradshaw put us through. However, Anguillians have a forgiving heart and they forgive him for the things he say and do and vote him into power and tolerate his flagpole mentality. But it is time we stand up again and get rid of this hypocrisy, for it is destroying our country to its core. Then we have Minister Jerome Roberts, who 5 years ago ran under the APP, Anguilla Progressive Party. With our independent candidate, Pam Webster, the party included Brent Davis, Wilmot Hodge, Fabian Lewis, and no other than the Honorable Jerome Roberts. They ran under the precept that the AUM and the AUF party was not the party for Anguilla, that their party views were the most progressive and right views for Anguilla. 5 years later, he is now a diehard AUM lover and supporter. Where's your principle? We are in a democratic society, and I understand he may have crossed party lines to get the country moving, but drop your party and its affiliates' views and visions altogether. Now, Jerome, if you didn't figure it out, that's why Pam is running independent, because her party folded and turned their backs on you, on her. In a democratic nation, a person can cross the political divides to vote on issues that will move the country forward. That I understand. But actually sell out and forget your party and member altogether, how noble is that? Let's talk about nobility. He mentioned he attended Barrister Joyce Kentish and Tommy Astafan's ceremony as they were sworn in as QCs in the inner bar, and how he expressed to them that these two noble individuals should give Cora a class in nobility because the profession is such a noble profession. Let me ask you, Jerome, a question. How noble is it for the Chief Minister of Anguilla, Mr. Hubert Hughes, to be found guilty of defamation of character and then had to make a public apology to the public for this act? Defamation of character means he basically told lies on people in basic terms. I guess our ministers are not noble stewards of our country. Chief Minister Hughes' character is tarnished, and so is yours. But remember, birds of the same feather flock together. To give you a prime example of them reacting to change is as follows. Look at what Pam and Hans started in Island Harbor community. Then the government jumped on board and did the necessary repairs to the school after the fact. Chief Minister Hughes brought up the topic some time ago about separation of church and state. However, they seem to be using church music and the Lord name to boost their campaign. How contradicting is that? How contradicting it is to use this to your advantage to gain political, but chastise Clifton Niles for being a pastor and running for politics. Flag mentality. Evan Gomes, I will give you the benefit of the doubt on your comments you made some time ago. Because even my speech, when I quoted the words that Chief Minister Hughes used in the newspaper about the Chinese, someone in Island Harbor heard the back end of the speech and assumed I wanted the Chinese out of Anguilla. No such thing. So you probably heard the back end of the play that was reenacted at Pam's meeting and assumed that we were disrespecting the father of the nation. It was a folklore play designed to make people laugh that the young lady performed for a talent at a teen talent show. Or maybe this is one of the AUM smokescreen tactics. I would really like for the politicians and candidates running for office to stop making a puppy show of Anguilla and the Anguilla people. My friends, it seems as if Mr. Van der Poel and Chief Minister Hughes doesn't have a clue as to what they was elected to do. As opposition in the House of Assembly, you are the eyes, ears, and the mouthpiece of the people of Anguilla. I wonder where Chief Minister Hughes was when the United Front was conjuring up their retirement plan that he will benefit from in a couple of months. Well, let me give you some insight, ladies and gentlemen. What the AUM party, and specifically Chief Minister Hughes, fails to tell you is that he, Chief Minister Hughes, brought a copy of the St. Kitts Pension Act to the Executive Council meeting, which, if voted into legislation, would entitle them to 70% of their salary. However, the AUF did not agree, and Chief Minister Hughes and the AUF voted into legislation a watered-down version. Is this what Rebecca was singing about? Hidden secrets? For the record, Kenneth Harrigan and Belto of the AUF at the time was the only two that realized the economic impact that this would have on the country and voted against it. So Jerome, let's reveal what Chief Minister Hughes will be paid monthly when he retires from office and goes home. Isn't it almost double the figure you quoted for Kenneth Harrigan and Osmond Fleming? Or is this another hidden secret? Imagine the campaign in 2010 with Joe Hodge preaching that Angolan ministers were the highest paid in the Caribbean, with only approximately 15,000 people. Ironically, Chief Minister Hughes had already orchestrated his retirement plan, which is driving Angola into economic duress. So why should he, in opposition, be the whistleblower to save Angola from economic collapse when his retirement plan was incorporated in that deal? Smoke screens, I tell you. For years, the people have been miseducated into believing democracy is just a matter of casting ballots every 5 years and that government should be left on its own until the next 5 years. Ladies and gentlemen, we have seen it all too often where we elect persons based on relationship and not on ability. The result is poor government. We need to move to a higher level of political development. Ladies and gentlemen, Pam Webster has the ability. Pam Webster has the commitment to represent the people of this country on all levels. Remember District 1 voters. When you go to the polls, vote for Pam Webster, the fish. God bless you and God bless Angola.
You see now why I was spellbound when he was talking on the radio. We do have a future in him, and to take Angola forward. Just two things: constitutional reform. That is what we need to deal with that, so that all people won't feel that they're strangers in their own land. We have to bring them home and give them what is theirs. You'd be surprised to know that we don't have a national development plan. I'm involved in a number of things since I retired with government, and every time you hear, Ms. Oswald, we need a national development plan. See your planner there. Pam. He spoke about energy. You know what they want to give us? A waste-to-energy plan. And we had a person who has a master's in environmental management. And when you heard him speak, I mean, what do they want to do? They want to kill us all together? I mean, he talked about Bratcher. Is it that they really, Bratcher said he would put bones in our rice and pepper in our soup and turn us into a desert. I think that AUM government wants to do that. But we're not going to let it happen. Pam is not going to let that happen. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the next person to come to this podium is Mona Fleming. And she will be giving us the candidate's profile and introducing the candidate.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Mona Fleming, and it is an honor to be given the opportunity to introduce our independent candidate for District 1, Island Harbor. This brilliant but humble lady was born in Island Harbor and received her early education at the East End and Island Harbor primary schools. She moved on to the Valley Secondary School, where she displayed her dedication to learning and was an all-round student, equally loved by her teachers and by her classmates. Having long before decided what her career would be, it was no surprise to her friends and family that she overcame financial challenges by securing a scholarship to attend the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus, Barbados. It was there that she truly excelled, and her hard work and dedication saw her achieve her bachelor's degree in law with honors. She then attended the Norman Manless Law School, Jamaica, where she earned her legal education certificate. She was admitted to the Anguilla Bar in 1986 and worked as Crown Counsel in the Attorney General's chambers. Many people would have been content to remain at this level, but her commitment to lifelong learning and the achievement of various scholarships through her academic excellence propelled her to even greater heights. She went to Rome, Italy, where she attended the prestigious International Development Law Institute, and she also studied at the International Tax Academy in Holland. Returning to her homeland, Anguilla, she then began her dedicated efforts to develop and transform Anguilla's financial services industry. She has the honor of being the longest-serving president of the Anguilla Financial Services Association and is the chair committee charged with the responsibility of promoting and marketing Anguilla's financial services globally. In addition to these notable accomplishments, she is well recognized within the international legal profession as the managing partner of Webster, formerly known as Webster Dyron Mitchell, one of the island's leading law firms. She is one of the founding directors and principals of the internationally respected First Anguilla Trust Company Limited. She is a member of the Managing Partners Committee of Lex Mundi, the world's largest grouping of leading law firms, and a member of the board of World Services Group, a leading international multidisciplinary professional group. It would be easy for someone as accomplished as she to take all the credit for her achievements, but she is as gracious as she is gifted. She credits her family and friends in Island Harbor and her primary and secondary school teachers who laid the foundation for her successes. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a distinct pleasure to present to you our candidate, Pam Webster.
Mona. Thanks, Mary. Thank you, Tyrone. Thank you, Oris, Wilkin, Paul. Thank you so much. Good evening. Wherever you are within the sound of my voice, a very good evening to you, and a warm welcome to those of you who made the effort to come here this evening. I believe Mona just mentioned that I owe my accomplishments to so many, and in fact, I see right in front of me. You know, so many of those I owe my accomplishments to. And I don't want to name you for fear of missing any of you, but I know that when you reflect and you think about our relationship all those years back then, and think about those memorable times when you were supporting me and raising me and lifting me and carrying me. And I want to say that the reason I stand here and the reason I do it for others is because of you and how grateful I am to you. I want each and every one of you, and you know. Thank you so much. I really, really love you and I appreciate you. I know some of you have traveled thousands of miles to come here, and I want to, for the rest of you here, just to see the team, the people wearing the fish on the, if they would stand, just so you know, and the young people of Island Harbor and District 1 call them the winning team. They're shy, just like, you know, we are, but they're the winning team. We're the winning team. And I'm so grateful to them. I'm so grateful that in this forum I can also acknowledge, the contribution they're making to the change we're bringing to Anguilla. And friends, brothers and sisters, it is true that love has brought us together this evening. Is that not true? Love has brought us together. And love for each other, yes, but love for our beloved country as well. That is why you are here. We love Anguilla. And I know many citizens of other countries, other Caribbean islands, they always marvel that when Anguilla calls, and we saw that so well in 1967, her children, they answer. When our country calls, we answer. We, the children of Anguilla. They answer every time. We answer every time, wherever we are. I want you to congratulate yourself for taking responsibility for Anguilla and your love for Anguilla by applauding yourself this evening. Thank you. That's comfortable. Thank you very much. Yes, it is true. The rock is calling you. It's calling us. Once again, Anguilla needs us. Once again, it is time to fight for Anguilla. Time to fight the social injustice, the inequality that attends in Anguilla. It's eating away and tearing down the fabric of our society, just like secession from St. Kitts was a charge we had to fight for in 1967. Just now, these are the injustices and ills we need to stand up to make sure that they're not repeated and that our Paradise Island survives, that our children have a future. How important is our children's future? The time has come to put a halt to greed in Anguilla. It is a time to put a stop to nepotism, and it is time to end inequality in Anguilla. Anguilla needs each and every one of you here this evening, each and every Anguillian, each and every friend of Anguilla within the sound of my voice this evening. Anguilla needs you. We need you. We need all of us. And your vote and your support for my candidacy will start the initiative to put Anguilla in the right direction. It starts with you taking responsibility, but also electing Pam Webster on the symbol of the fish, your voice, your independent candidate. They say I'm not with a party. I'm not with a party. You just look around. I'm with the people. We are the people. When we speak about the campaign theme, New Anguilla Now, I want you to reflect carefully on what is meant by that, the vision behind the campaign theme, New Anguilla Now. In 1967, I'm sure you can remember your parents, some of the young ones, their parents, their grandparents, that song, that revolution song, we're out to build a new Anguilla. We're out to build a new Anguilla. And if you reflect, and if you remember, that was the time every single Anguillian, except for those Bradshaw stalwarts who remain Bradshaws to this day, even though they pretend otherwise. Every Anguillian, we were all united in that cause of building a new Anguilla. And what we aspired to in the new Anguilla was social justice, equality, opportunity for each and every one, prosperity for all. That was the vision of the new Anguilla. And I believe that we have waited upwards of 47 years now. And in fact, you heard the stories. We have been left behind. In fact, the majority of our people, as sad as it is to say, we have been left behind. And some of the conditions that we're seeing in Anguilla now, they remind us. In fact, they're even more harsh than the conditions that attended prior to the revolution. So when you hear New Anguilla now, when you see it on the backs of our shirts, when you see it in the newspapers, reflect that where we are now is not what was promised to us, and it's not what our people aspired to, and sacrifice. Some of them sacrificed their freedom. Some of your relatives were in jail for months on end, securing our freedom. And what do they have to show for it? What do they have to show for it? Those that survive, you know, it's really sad. What they have to show for it? Just recently, in the last year, we've seen several national state funerals. You've probably heard of them. Oh, it's so sad. I almost want to cry when I talk about it. Right there in the last day, hurriedly, the government pulling together all that they have to do to have a state funeral for somebody that at an elderly age, in the hospital weeks and months before in some cases, were unable to meet, except through the goodwill of their families, their medical expenses. Not a pension, nothing to show ever, until it became politically opportune on a funeral to endow an award on a person who suffered and was not recognized. How hard is that? How shameful is that? How disrespectful is that? We have to change that. We have to change that in a way that we can lift up, just like you raised me up as a child. But we have to raise up our elderly. They deserve more. We have to raise up the heroes and heroines, those that still remain, the few that still remain. We have to give them a dignified end of their lives. We have to make them recognize that what they did for us, what they sacrificed for us, was worthwhile. Do you think that is something we should do? What do you think? We need to do that. So yes, that's one example, but there are other things not well with Anguilla. There are people going to bed tonight in Anguilla without water. Can you imagine that? Without water. In 1967, we had cisterns. Some of us still have to rely on that, but there are many Anguillians going to bed without water this evening. And there are people going to sleep, many of them, without electricity. And it's not because of the recent passing of the hurricane either. Long before that, in the last 2 years, we have never seen as many people on the poverty line unable to afford electricity in Anguilla. We have not seen that before until recently. Can you imagine an Anguilla with the resources and the people we have, and where our governments can spend extortionate amounts of money doing their own thing, traveling, taking in huge pensions, taking in huge gratuities, taking in huge amounts of salary. And the majority of our people still suffering. That is not acceptable. And yes, we know what is wrong with Anguilla. We live with the problems every day. And I know you know about them because I know just like prior to the revolution, when you were sending those remittances, you have to do it now, sometimes for medical expenses. And we're so grateful for you doing that because you're making a difference in the lives of the people we love. Thank you. And so we are not satisfied. Our campaign's not satisfied to just go along to get along. We intend to do something about it. We're rolling up our sleeves and we're doing something about it. And we need your help to do it. We absolutely cannot do it without you. But together we can do great things. We've done it before. We can do it again by just reflecting on what's really important to us. And our children and our beloved country, I believe it's the things, I hate to use the word things, those are the values we have. We care, and this is how we're going to make a difference. I didn't come here this evening, and Paul has done such an amazing job already telling you, you know, the things, several of the things that are wrong. I am very solutions focused, and when you hear Mary say that you're not going to get any joy out of my bashing anybody, the reality is I don't think it is a, you know, positive thing. I believe in a pragmatic politics. I didn't come to politics as a career politician. It hasn't actually been my aspiration until I saw the condition we were in. And then I realized that just like you, we've got to do something about it. And I'm standing here because I'm that committed to my country and to our people. I'm that committed. So we didn't just come to give you things to make you feel good. I'm going to shorten this. I realize that the chair is telling me that I believe we're running out of time. We've used it, is that, I'm sorry. Okay, the most important person in terms of our connection with the external is signaling that we're okay, so it's wonderful. I'm glad we don't have to hasten it more than needed. But what I wanted to say is that each of you, we have a canvassing card, and it's available as you are passing. And you will see that we're not just here to make you feel good and all these dreams of a big project. And, you know, when I spoke to the father of the nation recently, he said, oh, you know, it's pie in the sky. Those are the words when I want you to think about, when you think about, you know, how a small little country with you know, a budget of under $200 million can, unless they do something really significant in preparing the economic platform, bring in something that really belongs in another world. We know because we've seen in the region and we've seen in Rwanda that it's absolutely possible to deliver really excellent healthcare services. But we know that in those countries, the only way they've achieved it is through a troika of partnership between the private sector, government, and charities. So until we can see how that can roll out in practice, and I'm totally committed to that, and in fact, I've worked personally in private sector and public sector partnerships forever. That's how we actually, that was the first opportunity in Anguilla to to roll out a partnership like that, I actually was the person who created it. Anguilla Finance, we started it on the basis of a private sector and public sector partnership. Otherwise, we wouldn't have made the progress that we've had. But it takes an understanding of the international context. It takes an understanding of what the needs of our people are. It takes an understanding of why you really want development in a country. And in my 25 years upwards of legal practice, I can tell you that at no time more than now has it been clear that, and you saw it with the Temenos matter, no time more than now is it, how can you say this? I'm going to rework this. In the past, and many of our governments have succeeded in heralding in good development, good investors. But if you look at that carefully and you don't put limits of sustainability on it, and you don't always keep it in front of your focus, that the reason you engage in any development is for the benefit of your people, we can go wrong and we could lose everything. You heard the example in fishing. We don't need some conglomerate coming out of Europe to engage in fishing and to train our people. No, what that would mean is we'd herald in the big companies, but in no time at all, they would control absolutely that resource, and it would be forever gone from our people. I believe that we've got to start in training and molding our people and giving them access to capital. Those are the developmental steps that will allow us to move forward. In tourism, it's the same thing. Right now, we have, and I want to say on the healthcare point that I started before, so it doesn't help if we bring in a great medical facility that somebody gets, all the money gets remitted away, and our people still can't afford health care. What has that done to us? It's only taken up our remaining few acres of beach land, and it's gone completely, and our people still lack the health care that we need. And many investors pretend, and we know it from you, even your cases here in St. Thomas. I've been reading the local papers. Even your investors work with your people to work with them to get them into office so they can actually to deliver the land and the medical facilities and other facilities to them with no regard for the people after they elected. I promise you this is totally unacceptable to me, and I will not allow our people to be further disenfranchised in Anguilla. And you're going to hear many of the candidates, many of the parties, because they attack me. They treat me like I'm the effective opposition in Anguilla already. What they're going to say is that they're going to say things, and you're going to think, wow, that's interesting. But the truth is, I want each and every one of you in this room tonight, when you hear them, I want you to reflect, my goodness, are they projecting their plans on Pam? Are they projecting that? And I want you to look at the last over a quarter century of professional practice. You investigate in Anguilla. You look at the decisions. You look at how Anguilla Finance has operated, how Anguilla Financial Services has operated, my firms operated, and don't care what they say. You think, if you see that it's not true, when you check the empirical evidence, I want you to conclude, as critical thinkers will conclude, that they're not only misrepresenting, but that is their intention. Please. Thank you. Yes, we came here this evening to help you understand the realities of life in Anguilla. The canvassing card, our main focus, we have issues with youth and crime, you know it. We have issues with education, we have issues with healthcare. Yes, we need constitutional reform, because in this day and age, We need to have people standing in government. Again, it's on the front page of your paper, what could go wrong? We need people in government who absolutely are committed not to their interests or their pockets. You need them committed to Anguilla. You need them committed to sustainable development in Anguilla. You need them committed to the people of Anguilla. Absolutely, that is what you need. And right now, you would have heard on the radio interview today, if you heard it on Radio 1, what wonderful callers. And through this medium, I want to thank them for listening. I want to thank them for the very provocative questions they had on really substantive issues. That is what you can share with us. You can focus our politics in Anguilla away from the old style of just beating up on a person and say, hey, I'm not even listening to that. Let's go to the issues. Let's talk about conflict of interest and why that is corrupt practice. Somebody asked today, do you have corruption in Anguilla? And I said to myself, well, I want to tell you one thing. Just 2 weeks ago, we had a government, an AUM administration moving forward to get an exemption from tax for a related party. I wonder, Paul, if it's the same person that has all that 90% of the business and really could afford to give some back to the taxpayers. I don't know. But what I want to say is we didn't have, so it's conflict of interest, party moving it forward, but you know what? The opposition just sat there mute, never raised a murmur that this is not an appropriate action. And in the meanwhile, we are paying small business in Anguilla an interim stabilization levy that was supposed to last for one short period, but it has stifled business. Where is the new business happening in Anguilla? What regressive strategies, but what corrupt strategies when it's aimed only at benefiting a few? Is that right? Is that fair? Is that the Anguillian character? I couldn't believe it, I laughed about it. Initially, I was so taken aback because when I look at this room, I see all my DNA and that whatever. But the chief minister on a platform says, Pam doesn't look Anguillian. Pam doesn't look Anguillian. And you know what? They will go to all lengths. I don't. I know. But I want to tell you that it rolls off. It rolls off. You know, we know who we are. I know who I am. Rallis, I know who I am. And you know what? I don't have to fool any of you because you know more about it than me. Is that not true? Don't you remember exactly how I got to go to school? Don't you remember how many times you fed me? Don't you remember how many times you took me across that hill? Don't you remember how many times I loved you? Have I changed? Am I not the same person that you know, as Anguillian, as whatever? How is it? Don't let them fool you. And everybody within the sound of my voice, if you want anybody to tell whether I'm Anguillian or not, check with the good people of District 1. They really know me. So the canvassing card is going to tell you the plan. We're going to create jobs. No fancy pie-in-the-sky ideas about jobs. Anguilla, it's easy. We have experts within Anguilla. We don't need to rebrand Anguilla either right now. We have low-hanging fruit that if we know how to pull it out, if we work in a way to support our people, we will create jobs in tourism. My I'm a trained lawyer, as you know. I'm an expert in financial services. In the world, that's how I've made my reputation. I'm on the World Services Group, a group of upwards of 30,000 professionals, investment bankers, accountants, lawyers. Just today, a lawyer in St. Thomas called me and said, Pam, I saw in the paper that you're coming. Anything I can do to support you? Can I tell you? And I turned to the person. I was so humbled by it because I didn't know that. It's actually McCoy who told me that they contacted him and said they wanted just to wish me well and if there was anything they could do. And you know why they want to do that? Because they know that I work really hard for the World Services Group. I've worked hard in Lex Mundi, and they often say that sacrifice, if I lived in New York, it would be different. I didn't live anywhere else. I could live anywhere else, absolutely anywhere else. But I chose to come home, and I'm in 200 yards. Just imagine, humble, humble, humble. But I'm 200 yards away from where I was born. What do you think about that? And I want to tell you, I have such great admiration for my cousins, for my family who had to move away. I know to be separated. I know the sacrifice. I know what it means. I know what the dream is to come back home, to be with our own. It is no small sacrifice to do that. You know, to make that change and to go off to far off place. But the thing that sustains us is our beloved country. It's our families, our people. So I'm not going to make little of that, but absolutely know that in Anguilla, my remaining there, even in barren years, signaled that I felt once Anguilla could offer me an opportunity, and once I could contribute, I would be there. I know it hasn't offered opportunity to many others. In fact, the young people now are leaving again. How sad is that? Thank you very much. And we're leaving time. It's really, really important. The chair is telling me we want questions. This is a conversation. I've shared with you my passion, my love. You know it, you know me, and you know that I'm able to do it. I believe that you can see, when we talk about the care centers, the first care center in Island Harbor we set up because of when Lambert passed, I thought you know, it was a personal time for me to confront, Cassie, look at you, lovely. Yeah, but to confront, you know, how lonely life is when the children are not around, the children not laughing. They used to come by Lamb and get the special, one little special, and always the sound of the school and everything. And I thought I had to do something, and I thought long and hard about it. But I know that if somebody hadn't given me that first uniform, a stranger too, you know, that first uniform to go to high school, I probably wouldn't have gone to high school because many of us couldn't afford it. Could you imagine that? A uniform, the Teacher Winner Memorial Club for teachers. It's why I hold teachers as well in such high esteem. Teacher Winner Memorial Club. I won a scholarship. They said I was bright. Somebody, good, kind community person, and good teachers told them that. And that was my first beginning. I got to go to law school, you heard, because of a scholarship. I've always had to work hard. But I love to work hard. I love to work hard. And the joy that I get, like Angela Merkel said the other day, there are politicians, of course, everywhere, who focus on themselves. But women, certain women, they don't get the joy out of politics from the power even, because quite frankly, I would like to be just one member of the team. They get it. They get the joy from motivating and developing others. That is where my true joy comes from. And my good friends in the back, who went to school with me all the way, they will tell you that this is how I've always been. motivating and developing them, and them developing me and giving me some really good skills too that I didn't have. See what I mean? It's sharing. So thank you very much. May God bless each and every one of you. May God bless Anguilla, and may God bless as well St. Thomas and the other countries that sustain us and keep us and allow us to be one close family. God bless you all.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Pam. You know, could you just settle down a bit, please? We haven't finished because it's now your time to ask questions. But just before we go into that, just let me say one or two things. You know, she said that it's being said that she's not Anguillan. But let me tell you something. What is even sadder is that we have an incumbent politician who's saying to the people in parts of District 1, all those people in Island Harbor are not going to vote for me because I'm black. We are all of the same race. We are all black. No one there can claim to be anything else unless they're not Anguillan. So I think it is sad. Our young people need to be uplifted, to be motivated. Don't go about telling them about black and white. It doesn't exist in our country. We are the majority. Nobody can take that from us. And we have to stand up from that, for that. Another thing, she just spoke briefly about the care centers, and there's something I want to say. Before you just give me a minute, before you ask your questions. And I said earlier about the number of children who attend these centers. You know, she pays for all the teachers who come to those centers. She pays for whatever goes on there. And it is kind of good to, when we open the center at Island Harbor, at the Pond Ground, that the Honorable Jerome Roberts, the Minister of Education, said, we give so many thousands of dollars to the Hope Center at Sandy Hill, that's by the Anglo United Front Party, and the one at Blowing Point. But Island Harbor, thanks to Pam, we have given very little, and I believe that has been in duty-free concessions. So ladies and gentlemen, she has her people Anguilla at heart, and that is truly having your people at heart. And thank you very much, Pam, for that, because the children love her so much. There's the one on tape saying, I want to vote for Pam the fish. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is your time to ask questions. And I ask you just indicate by the show of hands. And we will bring the mic to you. I know you will be very respectful and straightforward in asking your questions. And so, who will be going first? Yes?
I don't think it's in the mic, Carrie Harrigan. I have one question for Pam. When you win the seat, this is one upcoming election, what are the intentions for we as Anguillians to get back and forth, seeing the crisis that we have now, for them to go to Antigua, go to St. Martin? How would you assist us with a reputable airline or carrier and get that going?
Are you able to hear Carrie? Excellent. No, I've heard the question. Carrie, I believe you're hearing me now.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my question is, in the upcoming election, when you win your seat for District 1, given the current situation with Liat and other carriers, how would you assist us to get to Anguilla with bringing some type of reputable airline to assist us in getting to Anguilla?
Absolutely. I think it's a priority, and one of the things that I'm really saddened by is that our current chief minister hasn't seen it really important to absolutely step in and negotiate with Liat to make sure that that remains open. I don't believe he recognizes that without the direct flight, it's going to be harder to connect you with home. And it's going to have an impact on our economic opportunity in that regard as well. And so absolutely the first thing that I would do is to negotiate with Liat to secure that opportunity remains. I recognize that the markets are, and the aviation industry, that it's challenged, but I believe that we can function, even if it's limited to a number of flights instead of several days, even if it's just a couple of days. I believe that something is possible and we can find a solution.
Also, what I would like to clarify, if Liat pulls out what they're doing now, is there anything else in line as far as another company, somebody who has a reputation to transport? Because I don't think we as a people shouldn't have to beg Liat.
I totally agree.
We have others here who can assist us.
Not only that,
Even
but
from
we have
Anguilla.
but not only that, but we've had a history of Anguillan entrepreneurs, pilots making a difference. That is what happened. And we had very, very successful pilots and businesses. I mean, the international airport, Clayton Lloyd, you remember Clayton? It was that need in the market that drove his development. And so there's entrepreneurial opportunity. And yes, I believe that the service from Rainbow International is an excellent service, and that we should be doing everything we can to make that a reliable service. And I want to say, in relation to Rainbow, that we get every day, I've had the experience myself, of course, but we get every day almost an absolutely wonderful recommendation in relation to that service. And I want to recognize Rose and absolutely say that her husband, late husband of blessed memory now, and Cardi of blessed memory as well. But what she's doing is amazing, and we need to do absolutely everything to make sure that their legacies and their sacrifices attend, and to give her all the support she needs to take that opportunity in the market.
Good evening, Pam. I am Hubert Gomes. I know you're not in government, but a lawyer living there, you know the situation. My concern is with this stabilization tax that they put on the people of Anguilla, the unfairness of it. Could you tell me, did they went back to the House to revise that law?
Not at all. And in fact, that is one of the things that I have committed in my the claims I've made to everyone. That is the first thing that I'm going to do away with, that tax. And all the talk in the government now about another regressive tax, VAT, and all the studies that I've seen from the region show that VAT is a precursor to increased crime. And considering already the issues that we're having, that is something that's not going to happen. Anguilla worked well, both as an international financial center and otherwise when we're zero tax. It worked well for our people. We need to create jobs for our people and find creative, innovative ways to create revenue and get revenue rather than look into these regressive measures to support politicians who really have these extortionate salaries as well.
Yes, that tax was totally unbalanced because you're gonna set a budget, a cap for who making 20,000, you set a cap on that.
Absolutely.
And the small man that making 2,000, he's paying on everything.
Can you imagine?
And you're quite sure they didn't go back to the House to do anything to that bill?
Well, it was supposed to have been discontinued within 12 months. That was what was represented, but it was extended.
It was
Yeah,
extended.
absolutely extended, and it still operates.
And did they take the cap off the higher salaries?
No, there have not been a change to the way that it operates. Perhaps it's in discussion, though. But in any event, I do not believe in this tax. I believe it's regressive.
No,
I believe it stifles opportunity for young business, for small business, and it stops young entrepreneurs from being able to venture out there and do something creative and innovative, and we should do away with it altogether.
Thank you very much.
I can't remember. Yes. Okay.
Ron Harrigan. Pam, you're independent candidate. What's your plan for working with the other candidates once they elected? I mean, it'll be you independent, the others associated with parties. How do you plan to accomplish your goals and objectives working with the other group of people?
Absolutely, the question that I'm having to answer almost on a daily basis is who you're going to go with. And, you know, it's a very fair question, but Roland, I'm glad that you asked that question for several reasons. The first reason, before I go to my answer, I want to say that we need to change, all of us here, all of us listening within the sound of my voice, every voter in Anguilla, we need to change our way of thinking. And that's a hard thing to do. Change is so difficult. Trust me, I grapple with it all the time. But until we change our way of thinking, we're not going to see, you know, the myriad of possibilities that are open to us. Our politicians, our old politicians, have lured us into a feeling that you've got to go either with the AUM or the AUF. I understand it from them that they can see other possibilities. But I want each and every one of us to say that, to think about, you know, what it means. Before we had telephones, we paid horrendous costs in relation to business. But now it's not phones anymore. Each and every one of us are, you know, we can get 10 cents a minute. That was a way, you know, that has heralded a different way of thinking in relation to telecommunications. In politics, the pragmatic politics, we can't even think about those old days when you had two parties and one person running, hoping to be chief minister and flexing and just in whatever. That is not what my motivation is. My motivation is simply this. I want to say that District 1, the political options, and the people will tell you, they're not options of AUF or AUM. Let's think this through. It's rather which district representative can best represent the interests, needs, and desires of our people. That is it. It's a completely different way of thinking. And our thinking, we've got to move it to a different level. We've got to require more in terms of representation. Because the example that I gave you when I was standing there about what happened in the House, we have an opposition and we have an administration, and they're reflecting the parties as well. But District 1 and each and every taxpayer in Anguilla, we had no representation in that House. That is what it means. And if I'm going to be the one independent representative, I still believe this. I believe that with my skills and the opportunity that District 1 presents, I think that they will want to work with me. The worst case scenario is that, like what they say on their platform, everything on their platforms, but it doesn't mean that it is. They say, I'd rather work with the AUF than work with Pam Webster. That is not, I don't really believe that. And you mustn't believe them either. I want to tell you that if I were to be the representative for District 1, standing in that house alone, which they threaten, what I tell you, District 1 will never have seen in the past. They would have seen care and compassion because Uncle Kenneth, we know, great man, and I want to recognize him. I want to recognize him here. They will see, yes, I think they're signaling they prefer me to use another mic. Uncle Kenneth, yes, they saw care and compassionate leadership. So they see that in me, I hope, because he is my mentor when it comes to that. I believe that unless you're connected with your people and you feel their needs and you're meeting their needs, okay. But I will tell you that I will be the strongest, loudest, most effective voice, most effective representative of District 1 when it comes to saying what is right in Anguilla. And it will be I will be. But you know what the young people say? They say in District 1, they say, and I joked about it a minute ago, they said, ours is the winning campaign. And what they say is that our future, we finally have a constituency where our future has value. And let me tell you, that is significant to me. So change your way of thinking, anything's possible. And you know what? There's even somebody out there saying that it's a divine sign that led through District 1, all the women are going to be in government. And Anguilla is going to have an amazing awareness opportunity because women will be leading for the first time. And we're protecting our men. And I want that young man who pointed to the discriminatory practices between men and women. I absolutely empathize with that because you know the constituency that service, Paul? It's the children. We need all our children to be equal, to feel a part, and to value each parent. And that's the way we're going to get functional families, and that's the way we're going to get a functional country. It starts with our youth and our children and getting our laws right. Thank you. And I just, for the first questionnaire, Mr. Gums, in fact, within the first 12 months, I was told that there was a change to the law. A member of the team told me, reminded me, that within that month, before the extension, there was a small change to broaden the inclusion of people. So, absolutely. And what I will do when I leave here as well, when I'm back in Anguilla, I will try and get your name, share it with one of the team, and I will absolutely provide you a briefing on what the actual law is, what the representations were, and you can share that with everyone. And we'll, even if you agree, allow us to put it on the website so that we're educating everybody at the same time. Thank you.
I would like to first of all commend you for taking the initiative to come here to St. Thomas and to reach out to the Anguillan people here and the rest of us who live here as well. And even more so, for seeming to be not just a candidate for District 1, but for national Anguilla office and even Caribbean leadership. Very delighted to see that. And my question is along that vein. The buzzword in the Caribbean is currently reparations. Now we know that this has taken the time and the energy and the resources of all of the CARICOM heads of government and some of the leading academics and intellectuals. Where do you stand on reparations?
Thank you so much. I want to tell you that that was not a question I anticipated. I'm really, really happy that it came up today. And I've worked with Ralph Gonzalez, you know. I've worked as a lawyer alongside him in the past. I know that this is a subject that he holds very dear to his heart. And I know that Kenny Anthony, who was in fact one of my colleagues in the same law class and is a friend, they see great opportunity in it. I think that it's wonderful that this charge has been made, and I believe if that represents an opportunity for us to get some significant monies, absolutely I would engage and be there. So long as our people feel strongly that this is the energy we need to put there, and we're of the view that it will be a benefit to us, to our people, I would absolutely lend support to that. But as I said, it's for the people, and they're the ones that set the priorities. Before that, though, my colleague was reminding us, before we do that, we need to look at our own challenges. We need a progressive constitution. We need to lift our people up in a very, very big way. Right now, we need to provide, through constitutional reform, we have to make sure that somebody who is convicted of a criminal offense or who is even charged with one cannot continue to be in the House of Assembly and should be powers of recall. We need that. We need that. Those are the kinds of things. And yes, Anguilla, we've had slavery and we have studies, and they're, as compared to other Caribbean islands who have much more empirical evidence of what was suffered, I think that we would want to start with our own constitutional reform and then charge out from there. We need to make our people really strong in who we are today and move out from there. Thank you so much for the question.
If there are no more questions coming from this audience, Pam, I have some questions here that came in to be put to you, so I'll probably use some of them. Pam Webster, the fish. I'm sure you have ideas on how the fishermen in Anguilla and District 1 in particular can enhance their profession. Can you tell us something about that?
Thank you. Fishing is, from District 1, that's who we are. We are the fishermen. We are a fishing village. That's who we are. And I believe that in the last 25 years, our fishing industry has been stifled. It hasn't grown. In fact, many people would say that it's contracted. I believe fishing represents, in District 1, the most immediate opportunity for job creation. And it's very simple what we have to do. What we do is we get rid of that fuel surcharge. We, in creative ways, can release upwards of 70% of the investment that a fisherman needs to make now on a daily basis to allow them to make a profit and go forward. Can you imagine? Fishing. It sustained us in the past and it's our future. And as I said before, no conglomerate, we're not allowing them to come in and go and take up the opportunity. We're going to build out our people by providing development finance, access to capital. We're going to make them, they're going to be the wealth managers, they're going to be the wealth owners going forward. And we know how to do it too. We know how to fish.
Well, I think we're coming to the close of the program being aired on the radio. And there's just a note that TDK 326 is blocking someone. Could you kindly remove your vehicle? I think we can have one more question. And this is kind of a very, very powerful question. Can you shed any light on what's happening to the shares of the people in the 2 indigenous banks? I think they want to know what's happening with the banks.
I'm sorry to say that I really don't know what is happening. I've heard there are lots of rumors out there, and just yesterday, I believe, I was on, was it yesterday or the day before, I was with one of the radio stations, and there was a indication that there was going to be a publication on the part of the ECB that is, you know, very, very significant. And what has been suggested is that the banks are actually, the ECCB, they're getting ready to disclose, you know, what their position is on the banks, and it's not favorable either to the banks or to the shareholders. So that is that is what's there, but we're waiting for the official publication. What I can say is that I believe that irrespective of what the new information discloses or says, that the people acting together, that there are many solutions that have probably not been aired at this time, but that might actually be able to be drawn on to make sure that we don't lose our indigenous banks. You've heard elsewhere that if you don't control, who controls your money, who controls your bank, controls you. So it's very, very important that we stay very positive, and that even in the face of disheartening news, that there will be hope, and that we must do everything to assure that our banks survive. Thank you.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Just before I give the vote of thanks, I want to let you know that we have some refreshments outside in the area there, and we'd like for you to stop a while, partake of that, mix and mingle. You can still talk to the candidate, you can talk to us, members of the team, and now the vote of thanks. You know, when you give a vote of thanks and you start calling names, you get into trouble. And I'd like to say thank you very much, every one of you, for whatever you have done, whatever part you have played, for you, a lovely audience, for being here. But I want to say a little bit more tonight. Thanks to you, the audience, for being so attentive and your questions. Thanks to you listening via radio who didn't have an opportunity to ask some questions. But I hope that you begin to think, and think positively about what you can do to help your country. I want to thank the management and staff of Palms Court Harborview Hotel for hosting this event, and for also being the place where we stay. Thank you very much for your accommodation. Thanks to all the team members, those of you who are here, and those who are in Anguilla. Your hard work and dedication. Thank you very much for that. Thanks to all of the presenters. And I especially want to mention Tyrone, who traveled for so many hours from California to get here. There was a young lady who was to come from the USA as well, but due to circumstances beyond her control, she could not make it. And I want to thank her, although she's not here, for saying, I wanted to be here with you tonight. Yes, and that was Vincia Magella Smith. I want to say thanks to all the media, the newspapers for running the ads, the radio stations. We have WSTA Lucky 13 and Upbeat in Anguilla for broadcasting this event. A special thank you from the team to Pam, our candidate someone of whom we are extremely proud. We love you, and to all, one love to the audience from all of us in District 1. And thanks very much to the caterers. And the usual way they end off, if I have forgotten anyone, it was not intentional. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
There you have it, live from Anguilla.